Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. I'm your host, Juliette Clark. And again, we have a wonderful guest. I'll get to that in a few minutes. Want to remind you guys to go check out Author Traffic School. You can find it at authortrafficschool.com. We now have courses over there for building author platforms with anywhere from $47 to $2,500. Depending on what your needs are, where you've built, where you haven't built. Really great way to not only build that audience for your book, but if you're an entrepreneur, you'll get a little bit clearer on building that audience for your business as well. So today I'm super excited. Our guest is Kim O'Hara, and Kim O'Hara is the host of a podcast called A Story Inside. And I'm excited about it because I met Kim back 2014, 2015 at JVIC. And we have been power partners pretty much ever since. I think there were 2 or 3 years where we were growing, where we weren't. But she's a great book developer, and we're going to talk about her new book today as well. But it's just been a real pleasure to get to know her and watch her grow personally and professionally. So Kim O'Hara is the book coach to bestsellers and has countless examples of coach, leader, executive clients who, when writing about their journey, illuminated and inspired readers through their narrative. Called a book Sherpa, ride and die, BFF, miracle worker, and guardian angel by her clients, Kim provides clarity to hopeful authors about their purpose in book writing and foundational structure to execute their vision to a wider audience. Her 2-decade career in Hollywood as a movie producer and screenwriter adds that special edge of storytelling and crafting a story that entertains as well as evokes emotion. She sees the greatest potential in anyone who is willing to voice that dream. She has been a guest speaker for women's leadership and empowerment conferences around the country. She is a publishing consultant at a state-run institute and teaches teleclasses for the International Coaching Federation on book writing. She has contributed articles to Biz Journal, Biz Women, CEO World Magazine, and YouTube channel Film Courage. Her essays have been published in top literary magazines. She produces and hosts the popular podcast, You Should Write a Book About That. I guess A Story Inside is her website. I kind of goofed on that. Featuring authors and amazing people with a story to tell. Kim's clients' books have appeared on the Wall Street Journal, USA Today top 10 list, as well as #1 nonfiction and business books in Barnes & Noble and Amazon. So stay tuned. This is going to be a fun interview as we talk about Kim's new book. She developed her own book, and I can't wait to hear the challenges around that. Kim, welcome. I'm so excited to have you back. It's been, I think, like 2 years since you've been on.
It's been a while. So much has happened, including a pandemic.
Yeah, well, including a pandemic, which I think was good for for our businesses at least, because people got serious about, oh my God, I could die. I need to write my book.
Exactly. Totally. Yes.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to talk about this today because you bring such a unique skill set to your clients with the book development. Talk a little bit, if you could, about your time in Hollywood, screenwriting, producing, because I feel like that is really the essence of your storytelling ability.
I would disagree with that at this point. I would say, now that I've been doing book coaching for 9 years, I think that has almost surpassed what I did in Hollywood. Yes, Hollywood was the bones that got me into feeling capable of being a book coach. I don't think it's been 9 years. Let's say 2015. So actually 8 years. 8 years this March. And every book that I develop with a client and every relationship I have and every way I take them from that, I really have a dream, to like sending them to you to publish, that is just has enhanced my abilities to develop a book, to see the vision for somebody. And now it's been over 40 books. That's way more movies than I made. I only made 11 movies and I've helped 40 books. So I feel like my experience now is from book coaching, really.
Yeah, and I love the way you said that, help, because that's one thing I really love about you and your clients is you're not one of those who's like totally in it for the money. Like I got to close this. You actually serve people very well.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. It's a deep relationship. I mean, I have relationships with all my clients long after they're done working with me. I have a year program. I'm still talking to them, a year and 6 months in. I mean, I celebrate them at their book launches. I talk to them about, hey, this thing came up that I need to do with this book. What do you think? Definitely in the publishing process, which I do as a consultant as part of my situation with them. And some people come to me with finished books and they want to know consulting referrals for, publishing. And I send them to someone like you, or depending on what they're looking for. And a lot of times they'll show me these proposals that are so exorbitantly expensive. They're so out of touch. Each line item is jacked up financially. And they're so grateful that I'm able to kind of help them see where they're going to get kind of rooked.
Yeah, we do that a lot too. We always recommend that people take it to an attorney, but I can pretty much identify where they're hiding profit that they say they're not inside of a contract. And I don't know about you, but I've seen some really bad ones. I had a client this time last year that came in and there were 4 line items that totaled $2,500 that these people were never going to deliver on. They were fluff items. And so,
yes,
it's really, I'm glad you do that too, because.
Well, I don't look at contracts like you. I say, go to an attorney. I'm talking about proposals, not even the contract yet. This is just where they're saying it's going to be X amount of dollars for, I know. So like, give me an example. I'll give you an example. I know what you charge for an Amazon bestseller campaign. And I know what some of your bells and whistles are. And I know what their fee is. And then I see these other fees and they're triple. And I think, why would they be triple? So anyway, I don't want to go down. Like, let's pivot. Let's go to, I don't want to I have so many different partners in this that I don't want to sit here and bash other people. I want to talk about like how amazing it is when they come to me and we work together. We get into this deep, long process of really discovering why they're writing the book, who they're writing the book for, what's the book hook, what's going to make them unique so they're not one of 33 million books on Amazon to nowhere. I want them to be those shining books that like have a shot, And are you going to sell 10,000 books? That's a lot of books. You might sell 5,000 books if you have the right strategy and you know who you are and you know why, which is why I work with a lot of coaches, because they're driven to understand that they want to 10X out in the world beyond their one-on-one coaching.
Yeah. And I love that you work with coaches too, because especially the coaches that work online, they already have a lot of the pieces in place for their author platform, which, so many people don't realize until they get there that they actually don't have an audience to sell a book to. So right. I like that audience too, because most people jump into that. So you have a new book out. And it's a little bit like, it's very transparent. So what was it like for you as a book developer to write your own book?
It's an interesting story. I'll try to cut to the chase. And the book is called No Longer Denying Sexual Abuse, Making the Choices That Can Change Your Life. And about what would be 4 or 5 years ago, 2017, I'm terrible at math today. So five or 6 years ago, this book was already a memoir and I had really needed to regurgitate it. Like I really needed to put it down on paper. And I found a publisher right away. And I'm an excellent writer. I'll just say that. I am a good writer. That's what makes me a coach, right? And I wasn't ready to be that sexual abuse survivor. I wasn't ready to be the face of that. My book coaching business was only 2 years old. I didn't know how to make that brand work with book coaching. And I had to make a decision that my book coaching brand was going to be more important to me at the time than promoting that book. So I put it down. Then I helped a client of mine, Naomi Joseph, get her book to a publisher called Right Life. And she had this amazing experience with them. And they ended up, I don't think at the time you were doing hybrid, you were still pretty much like service. And so they were hybrid and they were going to have a different relationship with her, take her through the whole editing process. And when they put out her book, I happened to mention to the owner of that publishing company, I happen to have this book and it's about sexual abuse. And she was very understanding of that topic, let's just say.
Okay.
And said, I'm going to take you under the wing, read the manuscript, came back to me and said, if you read, there is no book like this on the marketplace that helps people with sexual abuse denial or any abuse denial. We're talking about violence, verbal abuse, narcissism, neglect, all of it. If you rewrite 75% of this book and turn it into a self-help book, we'll publish you. And I said, I'm going to do it.
Nice.
Because I knew the memoir wasn't going to serve. You know, when you put a memoir out in the world, I believe the most, like you buy a memoir because it's lyrical and the writing's evocative and it's amazing. And this was really actually a self-help book hiding behind a memoir. And for them to see that, and then the editor helped me. Oh my God, this woman was amazing. She helped me turn it into a self-help book. Now I'm like putting it on everything. I'm on podcasts. The book is everywhere. I don't shirk when I see sexual abuse. My brand as a book coach is so solid that I don't think in any way anyone's going to think that's like contrasting. It just, they see me as an author who's willing to put my trauma out on the, like out there for people to read. It's such divine timing for this book to be out this month.
It is. Tell us, like, what prompted you to write it? Did you find that writing about your experience helped heal? Because I know so many people do. Would you mind sharing that?
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I have clients write 3 or 4 drafts with me is that first draft is that dumb, right? It's that regurgitation. It's that like, what is in here, right? And then by the second draft, we can start to go, is that really serving the reader? Like we start to get into more of a like super professional mindset, right? So for me, it was really important for me to write about what I had been through, not so much the acts of the abuse, but what had happened to me over the 40 years that I had suppressed and denied as part of who I am, right? My finances, my romantic relationships, my spirituality, everything that had sort of, the abuse had sort of tainted everything. And so it was important for me as I started to become who I was supposed to be, you know, at 42 years old, I was like, who am I? I didn't even know. That felt like it needed to be documented for me to then be able to turn it around and go, oh, I understand. Here's where I was like telling people, and here's where I was like finding my inner child, and here's where I was starting to make some money, and here's where God showed up, and see it as a self-help book to help so many people. And now if someone pops up and says, oh my God, I just realized I've been abused and I don't know where to turn, instead of going, well, read my memoir, I can go, I've got a self-help book that's going to take you from A to B.
Love that.
It feels clean and clear, you know?
Yeah, I love that. And I talk to people a lot about when they get writer's block, you know, don't get upset. It's, you know, God or universe or whoever, you know, your higher power is saying you can do this, but in return, I need you to heal something. And usually and people don't understand, I think, how cathartic and healing writing a book is. With all of my mystery novels, even because they were fiction, I had people in that, like everybody knows, I killed my my ex-husband. He was my first and last in my first book. But how cathartic was that? And, you know, my second book was family. So there's some family stuff in there. And my third book, there's a lot. And so it really becomes that point for you to grow and heal as a human being. And you know what's so funny about you saying, who am I? I remember I was online dating, and the first thing out of this guy's mouth on a phone call was, so tell me who Juliette Clark is. And I hung up on him. I hung up and I'm like, I wanted to cry. I was like, I don't know who that is. So
it's amazing. You know, dating is one of the most spiritual experiences ever. I have found so much about myself in dating. Oh my God. And I didn't even want to do it. And then when I did it, I was like, even the bad dates, you're like, wow, you learn so much about yourself and empathy for other people. But I want to say, I didn't know you've written 3 books.
Oh my God, I've written 7. I started out a mystery novelist, and
Oh my
I
God.
made a decent amount of money on some fairly crappy mystery novels.
That is
But
amazing. I had
yeah,
no idea.
that's where I started. I was going through a really, really bad divorce, and I just wanted to kill somebody. So I killed him in the book. And then
I love that. I am going to use that when people are like, I want to write a book, but I'm going through a hard time. I'll be like, kill him. Just kill him in the
yeah,
book.
just kill him. The amazing part is he's one of my golf buddies now, and he knows. He tells people all the time, like, don't cross her. She'll just pull out her typewriter and erase you from the earth.
Isn't that amazing? Well, that's proof in the pudding that because you did write about it, even though it was shrouded in a fictional, template, you killed him and were able to heal and evolve versus like holding on to it, which is so beautiful,
Yeah. Yeah,
really beautiful.
it is. It's so funny because that was I call myself the accidental publisher because I self-published that first book because I'd been a part of traditional publishing. And I felt like when I saw that self-publishing model, I was like, oh my God, this is awful. This doesn't help authors at all, which I think back at the time period, that's what they were trying to do. They didn't want self-publishing to become a thing.
Right. Exactly. And so, wow, I didn't know that about you. Anyway, that's very cool.
So what was your wake up call for you? Like, I have to write this. I have to get it down. And did you expect it to be healing?
I 100% did. I mean, but here's the thing. When I rewrote the book last year, and I did it in 3.5 months, which is unheard of, that I rewrote 75%. That's when I knew that I was an exceptional writer, because revisions are really what make or break writers. Many people can regurgitate a book. It's when you go into that second or third draft and you become a revisionist, and they'll say this on a lot of panels that you'll listen to with agents and editors in the traditional houses. Revisions are what make or break a book. Yeah. And I know that, like, in the process of rewriting it, I had to go through it all over again. And so I had a lot of new feelings that I hadn't thought about in a long time. And some of them were painful, but luckily there had been enough time that had passed between 2017 and 2022 that I was able to know how to take care of myself, right? So if I'd have a moment where I'd be like, I want to throw this like laptop across the room, partially because my editor's notes there were so many of them that I was just like, oh my God, staying up to like 2 or 3 in the morning, because then I do my work day and deal with my kids. Like, editing a book, like my clients go through this all the time. I have a job. I'm a book coach. And then I have 2 kids. Now I'm editing a full book on top of it with a deadline. And I was like, I can't do this in the workday. I have to do this at like 4 a.m. I have to do this like at 12 o'clock at night. And so there were times where I wanted to throw the laptop across the room and I couldn't really take the time to sit and like sob at the laptop. There just wasn't time for it. But I felt a lot of the feelings again, and they were very empowering. They were very empowering to have that command of the word in a way that you can feel things and you can bring that to people that aren't ready. They can't feel. Your book is a conduit to telling them it's going to be okay.
Yes. And you know what? You're right about them getting it at the right time. I remember when I was getting a divorce, somebody handed me this divorce book. On the shelf it went. Like, I wasn't ready. But a year later, I saw it up there and I pulled it down and I was ready. So I'm saying this because if you guys feel like you're in something abusive, go buy the book. Just let it sit there until it speaks to you, because it will as you grow and evolve. So the first time you wrote the memoir, we all know that energy sort of works in layers. And once you've healed, it sounds like you went back and did a second healing. How was writing that book the first time? Was it a really emotional, like, I'm crying every day feeling for you?
I had journaled for so long, and I like to say that journaling is not book writing. I'm very clear about that. I do not hedge on that. When someone's like, oh, I've been journaling, so I've been like starting to write my book. I'm like, you're not writing your book. You're just journaling. You're just journaling. You're not writing the book till you commit to an outline and to a game plan, because that is just playing around as far as I'm concerned. So I had done a lot of playing around. I had done a lot of journal writing, and I got to the point where I was like, these journals, they are not moving me anywhere. So I had done a tremendous amount of healing on the side through the journals. So by the time I got to the book, it wasn't as messy as you would think it would be. It was very like mission driven. Like I had a mission, and I had a purpose, and I also put myself in the mindset too. Like nobody wants to read a book that's just like a mess, right?
Yeah.
So, I knew as a book coach, and I knew as making movies, working with editors of movies, so there are scenes and you cut them together and they have to have cohesiveness, or people don't know have you ever seen those movies where you're like, I have no idea what's going on? So I would start to focus on headers, right? So I'd be like, well, all this writing is kind of about like God. Well, maybe this should be a spirituality chapter. And all this writing is kind of about like not treating my body very well. Maybe this should be a body chapter. And this is all about the guys and sex. This should be like a romantic chapter, right? And so for me, that seemed really clear. Now, this is why coaches and editors are so important, of which I didn't have any for that memoir, right? Yeah. So when I came and sold the book to Write Life this time around, and they brought in an editor, we did 7 revisions.
Yeah.
7. I would send something to her and I'd be like, this is so good. And I get a note back that's just like, nope. I was like, what the hell? So I got a taste of my own medicine, because I'm not that hard on my clients. I'm very gentle, but they do get notes eventually where I'm like, I'm getting a little bit tired of saying this to you.
Yes.
Like, I'm getting a little over this. Like, I've asked you to do this. What's going on? Why are you not? And then it opens up dialogue. This editor was not a coach. There was going to be no coaching. There was going to be no like kumbaya. Let's look at your, how are you feeling? It was, you need to fix this or we're cutting it.
Wow. You guys, if you've ever worked with an editor, on my first book, Stephen King's first editor was my editor. And I had to print it and mail it. I was a puddle when I got it back, because I thought it was like, oh, this is the best book ever. There was so much red on there. I couldn't see the white, because he was still doing it by hand. And yes. it can be a little bit overwhelming because of course we all think, I've had a genius day. I don't know about with you, but with mystery writing, I would write it and I would think, that was amazing. And then I'd go back on the rewrite and I'd be like, what the hell was I thinking that day? I can't spell anything. This doesn't fit. And it's just, I was being hard on myself in advance.
Right. It's true though. It's true. I will write something and then I just finished a second book that I'm currently shopping, and I've done some revisions on it, basically just to do the book proposal, because you need a book proposal to sell any kind of self-help or memoir. And so in doing the book proposal, I'll go back in and I decided to do like a pass on the book. And I'll get to a passage and I'll be like, this isn't even that good. Like, I thought it was all so brilliant. And I'm like, this is clunky and it's not even funny. What am I thinking? And I'll rewrite it. That's what's the beauty of revisions, is you get to just keep tweaking and tweaking. But one thing I'll say is, and I say this to my clients all the time, don't tweak and be inactive. Tweak and be selling at the same time. Tweak and be building your book platform. Tweak and know like where you're going. Don't go into some dark rewrite hole and stop the momentum of the business of your book. A book is a business. It's a business. It needs to be treated like a business. It needs to be taken care of. It can't just go fallow. You need to always be kind of networking thinking. People say, well, I don't know if it's ready. And what happens if I send out all these query letters and all these people want it? That's not going to happen.
Yeah. Wow. That's a good problem. If only it were real.
That is not going to, you're going to get one hit.
You are. And we actually, I'm glad you said that about moving forward, because we had just started Author Traffic School, and we did it because some literary agents came to us and said, I get some really good manuscripts I'd like to pitch, but there's no audience there that will substantiate a traditional publisher picking this up and going forward. So I love that you said that, because once you do get in that relationship and get an editor, the support is amazing. But
Yes.
they're also very busy, so you're not going to get coddled. Just like you said, you're going to get do it or cut it.
Basically. So I say to clients, I say, if you want a traditional publisher and you go to a traditional publishing house, the game is going to change.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
So your book is going to be it's on the market now, but it will be out on the 28th of February.
Yes,
where can people find you at?
Everywhere that you want to buy books. I mean, it's on Barnes and Noble, it's on Amazon, it's on Book Buzz. It's on all the platforms where anyone can buy books. It can be requested at any of your local bookstores. Support indie bookstores. You can go into indie bookstores. It is on a distribution platform. I know that I just had a book signing at Village Books, and they were able to order 25 books and get them right away. So if you go into your local bookstore and say, I want this book from Kim O'Hara, they can order it for you.
I love that you shared that, because our indie bookstores need support. They're being eaten up by the Amazons of the world. And, I don't know if you know this, but we have a lot of spiritual authors who will go into, like, say, the Green Man is near you, I think. So they'll go into the Green Man, and the Green Man can order it, and they'll do a workshop with a book signing. So
I don't know the Green Man. Where's the Green Man?
Oh gosh, I haven't lived in California for like 6 years, but I think it's down Burbank. It's somewhere near Burbank. I'd have to look it up. I'll send it. Yeah.
Yeah, send me the link. I've never heard of that before. Only have. Are you sure it's still around?
I'm not. I'll have to jump on and see, because that would probably be a great place for you too. It's a really. I used to go there all the time. I love the crystals and all the woo woo, and I knew a shaman there, so it was really cool stuff. But back to the indie bookstores. These guys really need your support. And once we put a book on a platform and we give it the right percentages for bookstores to make a profit, you can walk into any bookstore and get it ordered. That is so important for these guys to know too, because a shelf life of a book is about 3 weeks now. So a lot of times it doesn't make good sense for you to want to have that book in a bookstore, because if they don't sell them in 3 weeks, they're going to return them and you're going to get chargebacks. So I love that. It's a really good way to do that. I knew an author several years ago who actually did a national book tour, and they would have they couldn't have the signings in the bookstore. So they went to friends they had, and they said, hey, can you do this at your HOA? They would get book orders in advance and walk into the local Barnes and Noble and order, 200-300 books for the event. And they made the USA Today and Wall Street Journal bestseller list doing that, because they got the orders in advance, went to the retail, and then did the signing elsewhere. So
that's exciting. That's exciting.
It doesn't always have to be in a bookstore, but if you buy it retail, you can have the same effect, and probably a lot more fun with your friends and, cocktails and
absolutely. Yes. I'm not in a place at the moment where I want to do a book tour. I have a 13-year-old and I have a 17-year-old getting ready to go to college. And it's just not a great time right now, but I'm keeping myself open for possibilities like, okay, there's a conference I might be invited to speak at in April. Maybe once, if I know in March that I have a seat at that conference and I'm going to drive to Arizona anyway, I might find a bookstore and say, hey, here's my video for my last book signing. It was an amazing time, great turnout. Would you be up for having this event? I just don't have the bandwidth to throw these events all over the country. If I was 60 and my younger daughter was out of the house, what fun that would be. So I'd say anyone who's an empty nester that's written a book, what a great joy to be able to travel the country,
Oh yeah. Yeah. And they had a lot of fun. And, we all are connected to people in other cities who can do that for us as well. So Kim, if somebody wants to work with you to develop a book, where do they go to find you?
They find me at kimohara.com, which is my main website. I'm also everywhere on social media. I mean, it would be hard to miss me. I'm Kim O'Hara Coaching on Instagram. But, you can read my emails on, excuse me, my website. And the book is available, No Longer Denying Sexual Abuse, Making the Choices That Can Change Your Life. And one thing I want to say, I don't know when this is going to come out, but it's okay if it's, in the next month or so. We have launched a series. It starts this Sunday, February 26th, based on the book. And it's a 21-week series. And there's 21 chapters in the book. And it's called Abused No Longer. And I invite collaborative authors every single week who have either been abused or can have written about solutions for that particular week. And they're going to be joining me every 2 weeks to teach on Zoom abuse survivors of any kind. The only cost of attending is the price of the books.
That is amazing. So this is coming out on March 28th, but definitely send me materials if they can jump in the middle.
Oh, no, it's per session. There's no requirement to do the whole 28 weeks. And the website is no longer denying sexual abuse.com. It's very simple. That's the landing page. And you just click on the sessions you want to go to. They're always Sundays from 4 to 5:30 every 2 weeks. So yeah, it's going to go all year.
Okay, fantastic. And that's 4 to 5:30
PST.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing this today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.